Okay, cool. So thank you very much for being present here. Today we have a really full house. We have a lot of people that can help us in understanding, tackling a little bit the topic of the day. You know that during the first podcast, we introduced a little bit the topic of digital human rights and in general, the impact of digitalization. Today, we are going a little bit more in details and we are looking at, I would say, skills, knowledge, and capacity of adult educators who are working with older adults and with older adults ourselves. And we have actually people who worked on this in the ndByMe project, which is Peter and Steven, and we are also accompanied by George and Chelsea that we know already from the first podcast. I will maybe start by posing a question to Steven, and maybe after Peter can complement. We wanted to understand with you a little bit. We called you today because you are a little bit expert, I would say, in working with other adults in terms of skills, okay? You are essentially educators. We wanted to know from you whether you can introduce a little bit this the topic of today, meaning what specific consideration you as an educator you keep in mind when you teach and train digital skills to older adults. Is there any specific characteristic that you follow, or is there any specific consideration you have in mind when you start this? Maybe I will start this with Steven, and after we can also ask this to Peter.
Okay, thanks for the question, Luigi. Yes. We want our educators to basically have, or to understand that older adults have different, diverse, if you want, experiences, learning styles, and also barriers. If those barriers could be physical, they could be cognitive, they could be emotional, when it comes to digital learning and learning in general. And some of the things that we pay attention to and have our tutors pay attention to is the pacing and the repetition, keeping everything clear and simple, keeping away from technical terms, and try to keep the terminology a little bit more simple or relevant, making sure that we teach the skills that are relevant to their daily life. So they will ask them, what is it that you want to learn? And what is it that's interesting you? And how can I help you get further in that? And then because in Germany, you call it Hilfe zur Selbsthilfe, so the assistance to be able to assist yourself, we try to keep the environment supportive and respectful, so that they feel comfortable being here with us. And then, of course, you do have the limitations, but as far as accessibility with sensory or motor limitations, some people might have problems, arthritis or something similar, and that they can't type out on a smartphone device. So we'll supply them with a pen. We've got little smartphone pens that they can use to tap on the letters, things like that.
In fact, I wanted to ask, I wanted to ask a specific example, no? And you made it already. So these are like, for example, can you make, an example of one of the last things that you thought in terms of concrete, things that they can use in their daily life? You made one now, no? For example, in terms of accessibility. Is there another thing that you can share with us, like that make us really understand what do you mean by daily use, for example?
By daily use, for instance, a lot of people are very skeptical about personal assistance or artificial intelligence. And one of the things that I've pointed out to many customers is that when you have a personal assistant activated on your phone, you can speak to your phone and it will do what you want it to do. For instance, let's say I fall over, I hurt myself so that I can't get up and my phone is up on the table. I can ask my phone to call somebody and, then let them know, hey, I found
I would actually
can't.
be in need of such a training. You
Yeah,
don't need to be an older adult for doing that.
No,
basically.
it's so it's things that we that many of us thought were nice little toys and something that you can play around with. But when you take a look at potential situations, you find out that, hey, this actually has a really good use. And you can do quite a bit more now than you could 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also for you as a trainer, maybe this I mean, in general, Peter, you can add whatever you want to this. Also, maybe I will ask you to introduce a little bit you both or in terms of organization that you work with, because I forgot. But I was wondering, Peter, if you can share some consideration from your side. And maybe another question, I don't know for whom, maybe for everybody, is that how much as well you as a trainer, you need actually to study, no? Because, for example, this is introduced by Steven, no? The pace changed, no, in the last year. So I think that also for you as a trainer, no, you need to get trained about this, because it's not that easy, right? I mean, artificial intelligence, it's something that it's spread in the last, I would say, year and a half, not earlier than that. So I think it's also difficult for you, no, to be updated all the time. So do you follow some training as well, you yourself as a trainer, to get, or do you do everything by yourself?
Well, myself as a trainer, since I also do assist my other tutors and presenters, I try to basically keep on top of things as much as possible. Try to keep it also somewhat limited to my own areas of interest. But here's also where it's useful to use tools such as the Google search, or knowing what forums, what websites I can go to. So if there's an issue that I'm not entirely sure of, then yes, I'll inform myself, even on the spot. And we make sure that in this case, our customers, the older adults that come to us, that they're also aware that we don't know everything, but this is how we help ourselves, so that they're able to see, oh, look, I can also help myself by using this.
So
Well,
it's
I'm,
Very good point, Steve.
I'm not a trainer by myself, so but I see what the others do, and I think one important thing I want to point out is that a lot of seniors made bad experiences, though that we have to keep that in mind. Some think they are stupid because they tried it and failed quite often, or family members showed them how to do that, and they said, oh, come on, how often shall I show that to you? But you should know that by now. Though we have to keep in mind that we have to go very, very slowly and to show them to upright their self-confidence. I think that's very important. And for the daily things, we had a course a few days ago, and we're talking about KI, the artificial intelligence. And the group said, oh no, we don't want to use that, we are afraid of it. And then the trainer said, okay, where have you been in your holiday last time? And one woman said, oh, I've been in Italy. And then they figured out it was Rome. And then he asked AE, show us some pictures from Rome. And she was very surprised that it works so very easily. And I think that we should keep in mind that we should use it very, very personal, all we do. And what Steven said, we had to show them that we don't know everything, that we by ourselves have to look how some things works. So, for example, we use YouTube, for example, if there's a problem, or we ask artificial intelligence how they would solve the problem, so that the seniors see how they can do it by themselves. As Steven said, we help them to do it by themselves.
It's almost, I was thinking while you were talking both, that it's a sort of methodology in a way, no? We can call it, it's a methodology, because, in a way, It's learning by doing, I would say directly, no? And the fact that they see that you yourself, you don't know, and you are discovering, I think it's extremely formative in a way for them. It makes them very, very much closer, no, to you as a trainer and to the topic in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would like to back up a little bit and say that the purpose of this podcast is, of course, to explain a little bit the rationale we have in developing the second course, the second MOOC course. And the one part of this course, the 2A, is for people working in organization like the ones that Peter and Steven are working right now or set up. And that is using volunteers and adult educators to bring all the persons in knowing how to use digital tools and services. And I have to say, Peter and Steven, they're working in a company called Frankfurter Verband. Yes, that they do wonderful things. And I heard about the organization way before we partner up for this project. And so they do a lot of things from like long-term care to dating lessons for widows and widowers. And the specific place where Peter and Steven offer the services, it's called Café Anschluss, which is like, free translation, Café
Connection, yes.
Right?
Yeah. So
my question to you would be, for those who are considering to do something similar like yours, like Café Anschluss, so what is it, and what was the rationale behind setting up this?
Oh, the first idea.
Yeah.
Well, the first idea was when the first personal computer comes up, and my colleague, she was on my place before. She said, "Oh, we have to look that the elderly don't lose the contact to these." To these media, and there was the bus running from Hamburg through Germany, and they showed how personal computers work, and there we had we stand and we collected people and we told them, please have a look. It's very important, that will come up in the future. Let's do it together. And we started doing that only with seniors at the beginning, because we wanted a learning by a peer group, because elderly know how elderly learn. Though the steps was been very, very easy, very slowly, a lot of repetitions, as Steven told before. And that was the first idea. And we started with standard personal computers in a small room, and now we exist more than 25 years, and we have a big coffee, and it's still called Anschluss, because we don't want them to miss the contact to the digital media, but we also want to bring people together, to come in contact together. And as we started, it was not learning how to use digital medias and the technical things. At the beginning, it was what do we want to do, and how can we get the information for that? For example, we started with let's go to the Louvre, to Paris. And what's about the Louvre? And then we first talk about it, then we looked in the internet, what is very special, and then you can make a walk around the Louvre, for example. That makes people come to us and said, oh, let's have a look. And there's one group still existing now for 26 years. It's called Kultur. It's a cultural tour, for example. They meet every month here, come together, talk about the places where they want to go. For example, there's an exhibition, though they look who is the painter, for example, or the actor, and what was his reason and what is specific. And when they get all this information on the media, then they went into the exhibition and looked themselves what it is. And that works very, very good. And we also, the other point is to use digital games, for example. So I'm a fan of geocaching, and we made an event. We invited grandparents with their grandchildren together using geocaching. So we explained how it worked, and then we walked around, and well, it was very, very funny, and they didn't want to end. And then, so we've been on tour nearly 4 or 5 hours.
Right. Okay.
It seems, now, by listening to you speaking, Peter, it seems that it's like you use digital in order to get different kind of skills, like more making people together, making people closer. I think it's a very nice practice in this way, no? Because we always look at digital skills as an end, no? In itself. Yeah. Here is the opposite. It's like a tool, no?
And what some people think of is, well, everybody that gets into the computers and into the social media, they don't actually socialize with people, and that's really not the case. A lot of people do a lot of socializing through the internet, even through chats. And of course, it has its own quirks and pros and cons. You learn a different way of communicating that might not be the same as, or isn't the same as when you're communicating face to face. But I think, yes, part of it is also getting people to understand that just because you're digitally a little bit more active doesn't mean that you're socially cut off. Maybe quite the opposite. You might have more opportunities to connect socially if you add the digitalization into your lifestyle.
Well, we use digital inclusion for social inclusion. I think that's very important, not to devise it, better is to bring it together and to show how both can work, and how digital can help to be social inclusion.
I would like also to mention here that Chelsea and I, we partnered up in the past when I was living in Greece with an organization called 50 Plus LS for doing exactly the same thing in various projects to just teach older persons how to use digital tools and digital services. And I don't know, Chelsea, if you like to say some words about that, about those actions.
Well, it was interesting that, like Luigi pointed out before, that the digital skills themselves are not the goal of a. I mean, you start out with that, and then you realize during the project, or during the process, that you're getting all these other skills into it. Like, for example, we had a project where we had young volunteers teaching older adults how to use their digital devices. And at the end, the best outcome wasn't the fact that they could actually use their digital devices. It was that the connection that they had with the younger people, but actually mostly what the younger people had with the older people, and all the stereotypes that they had for old age were just, it was amazing what we accomplished with that project through developing digital skills. So I think that's one of the findings that was most exciting when working with older persons and digital skills.
Yeah, this was, if I remember well, if we're talking about the same project, which is
yes,
digital.
we are talking about the same project.
Yeah,
the
which is digital. Yeah, the interesting.
It was amazing. It was amazing because it started out that, okay, we have younger people that are going to teach older people, and that was it. And you know, that with an intergenerational aspect, but we had no idea that it would go that far.
Also because, you know, it's nice because you mentioned biases and prejudice, and I think that at some point we understood in the project that we could achieve this by focusing the main digital, I mean the main part of the training program on fake news, no? So this, which is the very, I mean, like it's one of the way through which biases and prejudice, they spread, no, online and offline, basically. So it was really strong, no, the link between these two things. So when you will put people together, automatically the topic of fake news was tackled in a completely different way. Then people could talk between each other, and everything was different. And there was there two different aspects, I remember, no, one that young people, in a way, you know, we think that I speak with a lot of adult people like my age or even older, and we always complain or blame young people for disseminating this, but instead, from a digital perspective, they are much more able to understand what is fake, what is not fake, because they were born in this world a little bit. I mean, I'm only talking about images, you know, like when I speak with my brother, sometimes, like I see my mother that she receives something on WhatsApp, and she goes to him. I mean, my mother is not that old, first of all. She's like 64, 65, she will be next year. And my brother is 23. And it's beautiful that she received this kind of stuff. And she tends to believe everything she received via WhatsApp. And she goes to my brother, who is able to detect more like this is fake because, no, at level of image, no, like this is clearly fake because it's impossible to have this kind of stuff. Look, read the everything is written in capital letters. When everything is written in capital letters, it's fake because they want to get your attention, which is you know, like a crazy thing in a way. But it's a very simple thing. So my mother right now knows that whatever message she received with all capital letters is fake. So she got this, which is I don't even know whether this is true actually.
It
but it was
very
it tends to be, you know, and it was very funny the way in which my brother didn't have any doubt about it. Like, look, I don't need to read this because it's all capital letters, it's fake. And there was like a mixing these two aspects was really beautiful. So in the case of digital, everything made even more sense because we were talking about detecting fake news and fighting them back. So coming a little bit towards the end of this, right now, well, you clarified a lot of things. You made examples of digital skills that in a way you work with. I think that also we clarified a lot of methodological aspect of this work that you do. I really like this thing of the bottom up and the fact of showing them by really doing, and the fact that the digital skills as itself is not an end but only a tool, no? Now, in terms of, I mean, while working with this target and on this topic, did it come to you that you find also by doing this a practice that was instead not positive, that you detected a negative practice? We call it a disempowering practice. Did it ever happen to you while working? And I'm talking about a practice both in terms of what you were learning at methodological level. So, for example, you started training in a way, and after you understood that this didn't go, and then you need to change this, or in terms of content, meaning practice that you can share with people, saying that, look, this is negative because. Did it ever happen to you in your own practice, and how did you cope with it?
Okay, an easy answer to that is that, sorry, Steven, just
no, good. Because I'm trying to.
When you patronize them, when you talk to them, like, you know, like sometimes with older people, you lose your patience, like what Peter said, like how many times do I have to explain it? But you don't actually say it, but you mean it. Like, oh my God, I have to say it again. Well, that can be very discouraging for them. So you really have to make sure that you respect their pace, not only their needs, but their pace as well. That, okay, you're here to help, so help them. Don't patronize them. Don't lose your temper. Be patient and all that. And I think I've accomplished that. I do. Sometimes I have to, you know, hold myself back a little bit. Like, okay, Chelsea, get it together. You're here to help. But it's overall, I think I'm better at it. I don't know, Steven, what were you going to say?
Well, one of the things I was thinking about, we had, when I was still a volunteer here at Café Anschluss, I had a customer who was not able to get along with any of the tutors, and all of the tutors have a lot of patience, but she was somehow able to break every single one. And in the long run, I had found out, I tend to observe. This is due to my time in the military. I observe, I assess, I look for different methods of getting things done. And I noticed there were a couple of things that she did when she was starting to get frustrated or such. She would start doing this with her hair. And then I knew, okay, so we bring it back down to the level before. One of the things I was aware of was anytime I had her, it was about every 2 weeks that she came to me. I knew one of the first questions would be, and if for those that have been on Facebook, you already know this, or hopefully know this, what is the difference between a message and a notification?
Mm-hmm.
And I would explain that every single time for about almost 2 years. It took about 2 years before I guess it clicked, or at least she stopped asking. And then I did find myself at times preparing, knowing that, okay, she's going to get ready to come. I know this question is going to happen. Relax, it's going to happen. It's okay. So yes, there is that getting yourself a little bit, or trying to get yourself a little bit mentally prepared, but also having the understanding that if somebody doesn't do something regularly or has never done something before, then yes, they're going to need more practice in it. They're going to need to have it explained more often. And we try to emphasize that they need to practice. We realize that this is not always going to happen. And this is where we, once again, do this help for self-help. We don't necessarily actually show them. We have them stay on their devices and we talk them through it. We sit next to them and talk them through it. If it gets to a point where they're getting frustrated, then we might, okay, when you go over here and, just sort of kind of point, but we generally let them do it at their own pace. Take notes if they want to take notes, whatever means. And that way, I think we, at least here, tend to avoid having a lot of those negative implications and, those internal frustrations.
No, but I think that even in this way, they are part of the process. That's the point.
In
the sense that, when they find an obstacle, it's actually positive because it means that, they can solve this by their own. So it's part of the learning process in this way. No?
What Steven said, I think I found it very, very useful when I was teaching. And I was also teaching tutors, and the tutors were instructed not to touch their students' computer and mouse. Yeah. It was like the last resort, rarely applied, right? They have to talk it through again and again and again. I think Steven pointed out something very, very important, that in those kind of teaching moments, it's not that you set teaching goals for the course. You set teaching goals for the individual. So you constantly assess where the individual is and what kind of improvement you're waiting from the individual. It's individually set for every learner.
Actually, this is a golden rule for each training, I would say. I remember I do training in a completely different field with a completely different target audience. I think at the beginning I was very much focused on myself as a trainer. Meaning, am I adequate to do this? And then I realize this now after very many years that I do that. Instead, right now, I let it go much more. My focus is the people who are in front of me. And this changed completely the training in itself. I need actually much less preparation also, for example. And I realized today that the amount of, I speak much less. In the sense, it's really, it cost me less, moreover. It's really incredible, but it takes a lot of confidence, I think, from the trainer side as well, to learn, no, that in a way you are to feel that you are adequate, you can answer to any possible question they might have, and it's all about them, no, and it's not about how you teach. It's about what they learn and how they learn.
Well, also a little bit how you teach, but I think
and of course,
confidence, experience, and being okay with yourself that you're not going to know everything, and you're not going to be able to answer every question. And if you can accept that you as a human being are not perfect, also as an instructor or teacher, I think that can help as well.
Well, we know each other, how it was when we ourselves started learning something, though we need to make mistakes to do it better. And I think that is that we have to give the seniors that they can make mistakes and that they should do these mistakes, and we don't need to laugh about it.
I think this is actually crucial.
Luigi, I'm afraid that you're going to say that we are going to, close soon. But before that, I would like to have a take from everyone here today in this discussion about the relevance of human rights in that work. And we work now 3 years together, right, on this project. So I think everybody can agree that we know now more than we knew before the project started about this relevance. But what would be your take on that? Well, what is the relevance of the human rights to the work that you're doing with older adults, teaching older adults?
Well, what my older people, when we had classes regarding this, the project, what they really liked was the fact that somebody actually thought of their right to be offline. So everybody has been pushing them to learn, to get a tablet, to learn how to use their phone, to do e-banking and all that. And it really comes as a relief that somebody said it might be okay to have analog alternatives. So, and then the conversation starts and they really like it. So, and this just shows how frustrated people are, and not just older adults, it's everybody we already talked about this in the previous podcast, but it's like everybody has been forced into this digitalization thing, and not everybody likes it. I mean, okay, it offers lots of solutions and all that, and we talk about benefits and everything, but we're forced. And it's nice to know that somebody is actually talking about, actually saying that it might be okay. It might be. I mean, we're not there yet, but we're actually discussing it. We're starting a conversation on that, and that's my 5 cents.
I think that's the very important point you said. Well, here people get forced more and more to use digital issues and the technical devices, and it's not a right that they have to do that. They are forced to do that. Then they are not free to make their own decision, and we should keep that in mind, because I didn't know about the human rights before we started with the project, and through the conversation with the focus groups, for example, I got a lot of information how people are afraid of it, and it's very necessary that we give them the feeling that it is okay if they don't want to do that. For example, they want to join all the time, but on the other hand, we have to give them the opportunity to learn it, and to give them information that when they want to become digital, to become online, though they have more information than before. Was that clear?
Yes, very clear.
Okay.
Yeah. From my side, it's well, for me, it's mostly already been this, that digital participation is a right. It's not an obligation, and it should be handled as that. And if it's a right, then we need to have analog and or hybrid solutions. And though I don't necessarily like using negativity, we had a brief conversational situation this morning where one of the people who's currently attending a online banking presentation, on the benefits of online banking, she was talking about how she was really proud. She'd gotten everything. She got all the paperwork. She did all this. I'm not going to mention the bank here. And she started doing it. And then there was a step that didn't make sense. And it turns out that this bank has never fixed their how-to with their documentation, with their actual products. So she called their support line, and the lady on the support line literally told her, and this is what infuriates me, well, if you're too stupid to do it, maybe you shouldn't be doing online banking. This is customer service. This
it sounds it has been a heated discussion.
Yes. She was actually she was actually calm about it. She was just kind of saying, I can't believe that this is what they told me. We were all kind of like, you really need to change your bank because this shouldn't happen.
Maybe she should sue the bank.
Yeah, you've got to then you have to show proof and, show evidence that the person actually said this. But
anyway.
Yeah. On the one hand, it is being forced because although we do realize that digital participation is a right and not an obligation, as long as the European Union, the United Nations don't codify and don't set everything in stone for nations to say, hey, we need hybrid solutions, the companies are going to do what's best for them. Organizations are going to do what's best for them. They're going to go more and more the digital route. They're going to cut off a lot of the analog possibilities. But then when at the same time you have your own support people telling people, well, then maybe you just shouldn't do it, that's going to cause a lot more conflict if that keeps going in that direction. And I really hope it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. But your example shows that is a kind of discrimination. It is discrimination.
It is.
And well, the human rights say that you should be free from discrimination, for example, and we have to shout it out loud that everybody knew that that is not okay, and they can go against it. They should go against it.
And I want just briefly to add that, the right to education is a human right, and it's set on stone, as Steven said.
Yes.
For younger people, it's a little bit more blurry for adult education, and for teaching older persons digital skills and the use of digital services is basically in most places in the world based on charity work or on volunteer work. I think this is also a very important issue. We discussed that it is necessary now to be digitally literate, not only digital proficient now, otherwise we don't navigate successfully in all the necessary environments, right? But nevertheless, providing education for this proficiency right now is not an obligation of the state yet, although it is a human right.
Well, I would like to close this with a more. I thought while talking, I thank you all. It was super interesting. I want to close with an example. You can choose one of the two categories that I'm thinking of. Only one or two, whatever. One example of something that you have seen in your own practice that is coming back in terms of content. So something that is very useful, that you need to teach all the time, no matter the years to pass. It can be something as easy as turning on the phone or whatever. Is there an example of a thing that you always teach and is considered very important by the people, and instead something that was always very difficult to teach in a way? For example, I train in a completely different field, which is European project, for example, or developing European proposal. An example of something that I have, it's always interesting for people, is how to look for partners. It's something that I consider it granted. For people, it's the most difficult thing. And all the time that I speak about this, they are immediately like very, very happy. So it's considered always interesting. And something that is very, very difficult all the time is budget. Like how to make a budget, which for me is very easy. I develop a template done by a kid, meaning myself, for a kid, meaning myself. And they are super happy when they see this table. And I also experience what you said a lot. Like before, I was doing it myself in front of them. It didn't work at all. Right now, they share their own screen and I say, let's do it together. People are very scared at the beginning, but after they do, and they it's like beautiful all the time. So do you have like examples of in this way? Like,
well, one thing that I always like to bring up, probably because I'm stuck on it, and but anyway, I think that it always works and applies everywhere, is to be critical about what you see on the internet. Critical thinking is my motto. So whatever you see, you don't always believe it, and just take a step back, look at it, and see if it's true, if it's needed, or whatever. I mean, like I said, it applies in all of everyday aspects. So.
Well, we talked about about online banking, for example. Here, people have been very much respectful for that, for doing that, and they don't want to come in contact with online banking. And then we started a course doing it, and show them how often criminal aspects are connected with it, and it is so small, and there are so much. Things to do it secure, that we now can show the people and how they have an overview over the money which went out and comes in. And now all the courses are full after we give them the information how to protect themselves, as Chelsea said, that it is not that difficult to be careful by your own.
Steven and George.
It's actually both. As a course, everything that deals with online safety, privacy, and all those aspects, as a course, it almost never runs its course. I actually give this class, so I think my best class has been about 5 or 6 participants. We have 8 computers, so I can have 8 participants. Usually it runs around 1 to 2 participants. So when it comes to offering it as a course, people are reluctant to take it up. I think it might be because they're reluctant to admit that they're unsure about it, or that they might need to learn something about it. But when it comes up in conversation on a one-to-one basis, during the tutoring, or just because the customer, was managed to bring it up in conversation, then it actually becomes a whole different aspect. Then the interest is there. You can see that there is baseline knowledge. They have a generally good idea, but they would like to know a little bit more. But when it comes to the courses, it becomes more difficult. So there's...
I think it's less tangible as well, no, for them. Because it will be less tangible for me as well, even if it's extremely important. It's something I understand is important, but it seems to me complicated. It scares me a little bit, but I know it's very important.
We try to keep it at a lower level so that it doesn't get too overcomplicated. Okay. We will say there is more to it than what we're explaining, but we try to keep it more along the levels of generally what phishing is, what things that you can use to look out, like all caps, how you can recognize it, and the tools that you can use to recognize fake news, phishing attempts, etc., and general security. But yeah, it's one-on-one. Absolutely, they'll beg you for more information. But as a course, when you're offering to teach a group, they will actually keep away. And I'm afraid it's a felt stigmatism that they don't want to feel stigmatized. Hopefully we'll be able to change that within the next years.
I just want to corroborate what already been said. We have right now a generation of older learners that they grew up in a time where everything that was published was going through an editor, and everything that was published, it was the editor who was held accountable if that content is true or not, which we don't have right now with what is published in the internet, and that is very confusing. Not just for older persons, but also for the generation that grew up with technology, sort of speaking. And the other thing is, like, you can imagine that if you're less familiar with the digital environments, you're also less familiar with the new forms of fraud. And sadly, fraud was... In the past, you needed to have some close contact with someone to be, stolen something, which is not the case anymore. So this is a difficult thing to grasp. Again, not only for this generation of all the learners, but even us in the university right now, we're going through training on how to protect ourselves from fraud, because we are victims every now and then of that.
It's very much true. Actually, it's changed completely, because you don't need interaction for this. Look, thank you very much. I really I feel empowered to go to the MOOC course and follow the training as well myself, because this sounds like useful for everybody. You will see that in the post promoting this podcast, we'll add all the possible links to the project that by now, if you are one of our audience, you know very well. But there will be as well the link to the MOOC course where you can go and follow the training, and all the material as well will be uploaded on our YouTube channel and are available there. I thank everybody for being here, and I invite all the audience as well to follow the third podcast that will be dealing with something else, more about raising awareness, and we'll have another wonderful host. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you
you,
very much.
Luigi.
Bye bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.